Welcome to Monster Monday. So, we are covering The Mimic. Let me find my notes here. Where the hell did I put them? There we go. And this review was a patron request for Katie, who requested a few different things, and we just could not seem to line up on a film. But then she suggested The Mimic, a South Korean horror film, which she seems to be a pretty big fan of. And I was like, yes, there we go. I'll do that one. I was a big fan of this when it came out. It made my top 10, I want to say, of that year. And cool film for sure. But let me tell you something. This film is fucking confusing. This film is confusing. Like, I was trying to pay attention as best as I could, and I still was like, wait a minute, what? So bear with me, Katie. If you've seen this a bunch and you can explain it to me, maybe I'm missing certain things. Um, yeah, I was quite confused by a couple things. So let's get into it. So thank you for the patron donation, and I hope that you enjoy this very confused review. I still like the movie a good deal. The atmosphere is great. The performances are fantastic, especially from the mom. I think they're excellent. So great on them for that. But man, I got some questions. I got some serious questions here that I did not understand. I'm sure you have some answers, but also I don't think there are answers for some of these, and that's okay. It doesn't always have to have answers, but man. All right, so we get this couple that's driving, and this dude has hits a dog, and then they're like he goes to put the dog in the trunk, and then there's a woman, his wife maybe, who's in the trunk, but he's also got a woman up front. So who these people are, I'm not really sure. Like, we do find this guy later. I think this is the guy that's later that ends up getting killed by the entity that the detective talks to. He's like in a mental institution or something. And he's I think he's blind as well, because any like interaction with this thing and you do survive it. You go blind if you like fall for its spell, but you're not killed and sacrificed to the tiger. But I also like he opens up the brick wall, and then an entity like grabs these kids and pulls them in. But then they're taping the mirrors, because the mirrors are how the entity gets through. But it's also being brick walled behind something, and the entity can come through that area, and it seems to like have multiple entry points. So what's the point of the mirrors thing at all? But down in that fucking, cave or whatever the hell they go into, there's a bunch of mirrors. So maybe every time it's like dispatched to like you know reappears through the mirror and then like steps out in that cave. I don't understand. Like, it's in the cave, but it's also coming out of mirrors. That I don't get. But as I said, the atmosphere in this is fantastic. The acting is fantastic. The music's good. The like all the technical aspects are great, and I love all of it for that. I love the dreariness of this, the sadness of this movie. This movie's, you know, very, very, very sad at times, and it makes perfect sense. This is a family that's lost their son, and then she ends up seeing her son. She thinks it's out on the road, but this can't be the mimic at this point, because the mimic doesn't actually mimic anyone's physical appearance, just their vocal appearance. So who's this kid she sees on the street? I think this just has to do with the fact that she hasn't taken her drugs in a little while, and she's just used to seeing this kid wherever she goes. Because when she talks to the husband about it, he's like, "Bitch, I ain't believing you. I've been down this road." So it seems like that's the answer with that one. But it isn't until the end that this thing tricks her into believing her son is still alive. But we're led to believe that her son has perished. So that sucks. So they open up the wall, and there's like protection containment spells that he rips down, and then once he does that, the entity like comes out, and he's burying that thing in the wall because of why. He's buried people there before. Does he talk about this in his... I was doing the dishes while I was watching certain scenes in this movie, I will admit, and one of those scenes was the old man being interviewed, which is probably, he probably mentioned this stuff, and I'm completely an idiot right now, but I try to multitask, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and you shouldn't multitask during foreign films, but regardless, it's still a confusing fucking movie. Even if I paid attention to every single line, every single second, which I did most. I mean, I would say 99%. I probably missed a line here or there. I really tried to pay attention. But I'm just, like, so unclear of so many of these things. And then, like, the dad and the kid who were taking a picture of in, like, the 80s, who, this guy was a shaman, and he was, like, abusing his daughter, but then sacrificed his daughter to this tiger, and then the tiger, you know, basically entrapped them in this, you know, never-ending cycle of, like, getting him more victims, and of course they're dead, and this girl's forever, what, 5 years old, which seems super unfair because she's just a little kid, but she's, you know, a villain in this for sure. But they're luring those people there to sacrifice them to this tiger, but then the people who do give into it end up going blind if they don't get out of there. So, like, you have enough time to get out of there, maybe, but you'll be blind if you stay. Like, the blind, but also a sacrifice to a tiger, but then, like, there's mirrors that have to be taped, but also they can come out of anywhere else. Like, as I said, it's just, it's so confusing to me. I was genuinely confused throughout. I was like, wait a minute, I thought that we were doing this, not this. But whatever. And they're already kind of dealing with some stress here. Not only is their kid missing, but they're also taking on the husband's mom. I think it's the husband's mom, who's senile, and they bring her back there because they're trying to, like, help her with her recovery. And of course also get away from everything so that they can try to get over their kid being missing now for a long time. And he's been gone for 5 years. Holy shit, man, that's rough. But this also kind of solidifies her hatred for cops in this, and it makes sense of why she wouldn't want to go to them. Like, they've done nothing for me. Why would I ever talk to them again? Fuck them. I get that, and I think that's a really good thing to put in here. And then there's the missing dog, and the kids that go looking for the dog, and then they find out, but the dog was, like, the one that was hit in the opening, right? But then they have a dog that looks exactly like their dog, and I don't know what that's trying to say. It's almost like their dog's mimicking the other dog, almost like The Thing or something, but I didn't really get that. Maybe that was, like, mimicked. Maybe that is the dog, but, like, I don't think so. I think that is their dog. I don't know. I was confused by that as well. Shit. Maybe I should have watched this a second. This would be the third time if I watched it again. But regardless, I'm so fucking confused. And then the little girl is pulled into the cave. I think that actually happens before that, but whatever. And then she comes out. Were they trying to... She's not blind, right? And she wasn't sacrificed, but she was in that vicinity, so shouldn't she be blind if she gets out? Or do you have to be there for a certain amount of time? Or I don't know. And then they go in, they find a dead lady down there, which is, you know, all right. And then our mom character here finds a little girl that she ends up taking in as almost like her own daughter to replace her son. Of course, this plays with the tragedy of her son and kind of that void that she needs to fill. And of course, the husband doesn't want her to do that. And then she totally mimics her daughter by taking her name and then calling her mom and dad, you know, the other guy dad right away, and like literally just trying to get them into the light. Although the kid's there and he's hanging out with this family for a while, but never makes the move to like sacrifice them to this tiger. So I don't know how long that kid was supposed to be there, or I don't know, man. As I said, my questions are beyond limitless at this point. I wish I had all these answers, but I don't. I don't. And let's see. Then we get the crazy Ralph lady, who's the blind lady who lives next door, and that's where we get our information that, if you're around the presence of this thing and you like give in to it, it'll take your sight. But at the same time, it's like, no, it'll take your life. So what is it? Will it kill you and sacrifice you, or will it take your vision? I'm confused by any of that, but it is what it is. And then I like that the dad's instantly creeped out by this little girl. And he just wants her gone. He's just like, nope, get this kid the fuck out of my house right now. And the mom's, of course, he's not pushing back on her too hard because it's his wife and she's grieving the way she has to grieve, but you can't keep someone else's kid, okay? That's not okay. My mom did something similar to that. Not, of course, that intense, but not good. She found a dog in town, and she never reported it missing or, like, found. She never went to get checked. She kept the dog, like, on purpose. Like, no, it's mine now. Somebody's fucking pet. And we kept it at the house for years until Crystal ended up dying. But that was so fucked up. But that's par for the course for my mother. That's probably the best thing she ever did. Unfortunately, she's not great, but yeah, doesn't belong to you. Doesn't belong to you. Return it right now. And then we find out that the kid who went missing was left with the grandma, and that the grandma was like out of it. Now, why she would leave the kid with that woman who seems to be so on the outs at that point already, she's already mentally just gone. Like it's definitely partially her fault for putting that responsibility on her in the first place. That was pretty stupid of her, but regardless, it's a mistake, and you shouldn't have to lose your kid over a dumb mistake. That's for damn sure. She didn't deserve it, that's for sure. But now the grandma is completely silent, and the answer to where her kid might be is trapped in her. So she has a lot of importance staying around her, but she also has a lot of resentment towards her for losing her kid, and probably herself for leaving her with a senile old lady. And the kid and the man have been missing since the 80s, and they still look the exact same age. That's always creepy when they do that. And the mimic can mimic dogs and this woman, like the way that's done, the way the dog is being mimicked and the way the woman's, it's really super, super creepy. Really well done. And the little girl that was being abused is one tough little cookie, man. She's a cutie. Unfortunately, she ends up being the villain. But you feel so bad for this. I fucking found a little kid and I found like bruises all over their body. Oh my god, I'd lose my mind. The mimic actually ends up growling like a tiger, hence this being a monster. This is an actual like monster entity that's down there and feeds off of the victims that its mimics go and get it. So anyone who's like, this ain't a monster movie, bullshit. We never see it, but it's a monster movie 1000% to me. Even the mimics themselves are monsters. And then they go down there and they break the mirrors, of course. It's always got to destroy the mirror and you destroy the curse. So that's kind of lame. She knows the kid is wrong because of vision. I think this is me saying that in the scene, it can't be her kid because she's starting to lose her vision, and she's putting, 2 and 2 together. Like, This is what was told of me, but she ends up staying anyway. She can't give up on her kid, and this is the ultimate heartbreak of like losing your kid and doing absolutely anything, even if you think it's stupid, on that very 1 millispercent chance. 0.00001% chance the mom's gonna take it at all costs. She does not care. Kill me. Do whatever you want to me. Like, I'd rather not live anyway. So I'll take the risk just in the off chance this really is gonna bring me to my kid. So that's really sad stuff. And have to turn back on kids crying. I watched this like 4 days ago. I've been meaning to get to it, but I haven't been home in 4 days. So, and having to turn your back on a kid, even if you like know there's something up with this kid, that it's a monster or something, like turning your back on this kid and leaving them in a cave and just being like listening to them crying like all the way as you're leaving, like, don't leave me, please. Like, you have to be going in your mind like, am I right here? Am I crazy? Have I lost my mind and I'm like partaking in murdering a child right now by leaving them alone in a dungeon? Like, that would be so hard to do. I'd fall victim to that really easily, where I'd be sitting there with the kid and just being like, I can't leave you, unless it presented itself as evil. But even then, it's still like, am I losing my mind? I gotta be losing my mind. What am I even saying here? A tiger? A freaking, ghost spirit mimics? Like, what am I saying? This can't be real. So that would be super, super tough, which of course reminds me of the Under the Skin movie I just watched with the kid on the beach, which is one of the toughest fucking scenes I've ever watched. She says to her mom, "Don't throw me out." Ugh, just right in the heart. Horrible. And even though she ends up falling for this in the end and being duped, and her son isn't really down there and everything, she does get to give her son a hug after the son is mimicked. She thinks she sees him. I don't know, man. If you've never had a kid, you might not understand this, but my kids hug. Like, if they were missing for years, and the last thing, like, I could just have one more hug with them, that would, like, and then I die, that'd be a pretty wonderful way to go out. Obviously the better way would be, did I get to hug on them and they never got kidnapped in the first fucking place. But man, hugging your kid, I don't know what it is about it, but it is just wonderful. There's something about it, just holding their body and just putting it against yours and putting your head on their little top of their head and just holding them. It's like the greatest fucking thing ever. So when I'm watching this and she goes down in there and she like turns around and the husband's like, please don't. And she's just like, I can't leave my kid. I don't care if it's not real. I have to go. Like, this is my obsession. I can't let this go. I'll never let this go. She goes back down there and the kid's down there. She gives the kid a hug, and I'm like, damn, man, might have been worth it. Might have been worth it. It's not your real kid, so it isn't, but in her mind it is. So it's like, hugging my kid one last time, or like living the rest of my life never seeing them again, I'm going with the fucking hug the kid the one last time, man. That's like the most important thing you'll ever do. We're all gonna die eventually, but do any of us really live? I know that's a tired saying at this point, but it's an apt one. And now she's trapped down there with her son, and she's blind. This is like Time Enough at Last, the famous Twilight Zone episode where this guy has enough time to read all these books, but then his glasses break, and fuck me, right? So yeah, I mean, outside of it being the confusing movie that it is, and I don't, like, even if someone has all the answers for me, you still have to admit the film is confusing. That you really had to fucking go back and rewatch. Or maybe I'm just a total idiot, which is completely possible and probably true. Doesn't matter. Whatever. I was confused by a lot of this shit, and I don't feel like it's explained very well at all. which kind of hurts the film. It does. It's like a head scratcher and not in a good way. I don't feel like there's answers for a lot of these things, and I feel like there should be on a lot of these things. So I don't know. But anyways, Katie, I hope that was a-okay. But there you go, Monster Monday, The Mimics in the books, and I will be releasing this on Monday, obviously, sometime not tomorrow, but the next day. I watched this thing way early. I usually watch it the night of, but not tonight. So thank you, Katie. Thank you to all my patrons, and adios.